share. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's begin with my. All right, can you see my opening page now?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I will be doing is I'll briefly go through the slide deck.
Yeah.
But since the slide deck is not predominantly about the whole company and all the different projects we're working on, I wanted to specifically talk about the topic which you had me down for, which is the smart energy data platform that we've been working on. And I think that, so I'll, start with a slide and then I'll switch over to a pre-recorded 6-minute session, and then we can have a Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll allow more time for Q&A because I think this is the kind of subject that a lot of people should be very worried about. And I think probably have a lot of good questions on that.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And before we start our presentation, and could you please roughly introduce yourself? And we all know that, you are the CEO and the co-founder of the Konectcity Smart Technology. Yeah, and could you give us a brief introduction about yourself and your company? Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So are we on now live? Are we on now live?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, good evening. So my name is Rayaan Arif, and as you said, I'm the co-founder of Konectcity Technology. So a little bit of background how we started this back in 2016. I was working closely with another entrepreneur. They were building a lot of smart technology, and we were also working on some initiatives around similar technology. So the two of us started working together on the idea of bringing vast amounts of data together in an operational setting. So what we were able to do is essentially both of us and all our engineering team are from a background of manufacturing, working with automation, working with the automotive industry, and really around operations, having experience of like factory operations, manufacturing operations, supply chain. So we wanted to bring technology that, utilizes today's speed and capabilities with infrastructure and logistics. So we started to work on this technology. We initially, for the first few years, we worked as subcontract to some of the main integrators. This type of technology is typically run by large integrators, and by large integrators, I mean people like Siemens and Honeywell and IBM and Accenture and Qualcomm. Those groups typically will only work with startups on like project basis where we can subcontract, to us. So that's how we did this for several years until we were able to prove this technology out with airports, with fleet management. We built the first smart city in Florence, in Italy. We built the Rome airport operational system, and we did a number of other smaller projects. So 2020, beginning of 2020, we launched Konectcity in the US, really as a global platform. We were picked up by an accelerator called Plug and Play. I'm sure many people are familiar with them. And we became their energy alumni. And so they've been helping promote our technology globally to a lot of the corporations that need this. And we immediately started to see more interest just on the energy side than on the other operational side. Obviously, airports suddenly came to a grounding halt. So us talking about airport efficiency wasn't the right time to do that. So we started to focusing very much on the use of the technology for the energy platforms. So as I look at some of the problems that this kind of technology is solving, it's really the infrastructure around airports. building, construction, asset management. Again, looking at energy, buildings are a huge burden on the energy consumption. Then if you look at the COVID pandemic, you know, the energy sector has been hit the hardest because oil industry is practically going bankrupt. So all the big corporations like Chevron and Exxon and some of the biggest groups are looking at net zero initiatives and alternative energy. Whereas previously they look at it, but it's a small part of their overall business. Now they realize they actually have no choice but to find alternatives, which is great. Essentially, as one of the big pluses coming out of COVID, that now they don't have a choice. They will have to switch towards energy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the actual pitch around the energy, and this is a 5-6 minute presentation.
Yeah, we can still see your PowerPoint.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I will start this again. Were you able to hear the audio?
Yes, I can hear the audio.
Okay.
But the volume is a little small.
Okay, let me turn up the volume as time will go.
Yeah.
Okay, and now can you see my screen or is it still the PowerPoint?
It's still the PowerPoint, not the video.
Okay. Let's switch to that. Hold on.
We can see your PowerPoint properly. And from my side, we can see your camera actually.
Okay.
The Zoom only allow one speaker show up in the.
Okay, let me I guess I want to make sure you're seeing my screen. Are you seeing the energy platform?
Yes, but it's not a full screen. You need to make that full screen.
Okay.
Can you make that full screen?
It's full screen on my end. I don't know why it's.
Do you have two monitor or?
Let's stop share and start again. So.
We had this problem this morning. That's why we need some time to test that.
Okay, no worries. Let's okay, let's share this screen and I'll be able to play it from here. Okay, now can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is the CT innovation and multi-user, correct?
Yeah. It's perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to play it from here. So what you're actually looking at is where the platform is actually built on. So this is a proprietary platform that we built on essentially on it's running on Windows 10, but it can run on any operating system. So I'm going to switch to the video for, if you could just bear with me 1 second. That didn't work. Okay, let's try. All right. Are you seeing the community electric screen right now?
No,
No,
see.
Why is it not sharing?
we only see the summary.
Okay. Let's try to go to stop share and then we'll share screen again and okay. Now do you see the video?
Not yet.
Okay, I don't know why it won't share the. Um, okay, I think there we go. Let's try. All right, wait. Give me 1 second. I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are there. Let me know if it's working now.
I cannot see your screen right now or videos.
We cannot see anything actually.
So, how about now?
Not yet.
Maybe when you share the screen, they have some multiple choices you can choose.
Okay, hold on. Let's share. There we go. Now do you see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Let's begin.
Is this the demo of our product?
Yes.
Oh, I see. We cannot hear the audio from the video. It's no sounds.
Okay. Okay, so you cannot hear the actual audio from me or the video itself?
Yeah, but we can see the demo.
Okay, do you hear it now?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you hear it now?
Yeah, I can hear it.
I can start from the beginning again if you like.
Sure.
Okay,
And could you please turn the volume a little bit louder?
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's start. Apologies for this. Let's start from the beginning. Here we go. Are we good now?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, as you can see, what drives us is what's happening, not just globally, but, closer to home. When I moved from England to California, it was only known for its weather and earthquakes. I had no idea that, the size of the problems that, we have to really worry about, particularly around, the fires, the cause of those fires, and the environmental dangers caused by those fires. So it's something that, we are very passionate about. I think we can do something, especially as it relates to data, because when we started to look at how energy is being managed within California, what we found was that there's a number of different groups, a lot of different types of funding and budgets that are all trying to work towards this goal, starting from the top down. So California definitely has some real ambitions to do something about this, but it also is suffering from legacy systems like the size of the utility grids is a huge problem. And then also the data itself is mostly of a historic nature. And so they're using this type of data to try and understand. So what we found was that one of the companies that recently approached us and said, look, we have a number of different projects that we're working on, but we really need to get a better handle on the data from historic nature to real-time information. And it seems that your platform is very dynamic in that it takes historic data and real-time data, is able to combine those different types of data sets and try to bring them into one layer. And also, we've seen for some time the need for having real world representation, kind of like a digital twin of something. And so since we are, one of the early pioneers of trying to create digital twins as an operational tool, so we figured that the best way is to start with California, where we'll create a cartography layer. And if I would just show you some more examples of how that works. So what we did was, in this exercise, we built the cartography layer first. So the way our technology and the platform works, as far as particularly in trying to understand data sets as they relate to energy, is that we build layers of information to operate all on the same platform and have correlation between them, so that one set of intelligence, even if it's historical, can look at information coming from the field. So the example here would be in this platform. I'll just switch to that. Let me know if you can still see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. All right. So you're looking at the actual platform, and I'm actually operating the platform from my screen now. And so here, this is the entire state of California. And then these are all the various data sets that we've collected. There's over 1 billion data sets from different entities that we've started to aggregate onto the platform. Each one of them serves a different purpose, but mostly it was historic nature. So what we did was, for example, if you just tap on the screen, and then the red areas are the sensitive areas, which typically are going to be more impacted by socioeconomics, as well as, they're going to, just like as we found with COVID, the underserved communities have been hit the hardest. And so it's really important that as a state, we focus on those areas that need the most amount of funding to try and solve this problem. So one of the ways they do that is, they have different ways of calculating a score that relates to a particular area. So what we have done is taken those data sets. The score itself is calculated by the state as it's called an EnviroScreen 3.0 score, and it's made up a number of different factors, all to do with the socioeconomics. Also, the additional data that they provide in that and the critical monitoring items are things like the ozone layer, the PM25, that's the dust particles in the area, the emissions coming off from traffic, the toxicity levels, the poverty levels. And then we added additional things. For example, Google created I don't know if many people are familiar, but the Google Solar Project mapped out the entire country, where you can actually look at any sunroof in the area or any building in the area, just tapping on the screen, and you will know exactly how much solar potential it has. So we've mapped this data, and now we can see exactly how much savings, how much of an impact on the environment it will have. And so we've brought all of that data together within the platform itself. The data itself, obviously, it's now much more user-friendly in that it starts with clusters, and then you can break down those clusters, or you can turn any one of these sensors on and off and focus on the area that you need to focus on. The idea behind this data is to combine everything that impacts us on a daily basis, rather than just looking at, one group looking at historical data, another group looking at, maybe the air quality. We're trying to combine those various things. And we think it'll be a very useful tool for the city, the states, the municipalities, and many of the stakeholders to understand what's really going on within their community. And also, more importantly, within their community, what are some of the initiatives that are taking place and how are they impacting? So we use the example here within Santa Monica, within the disadvantaged community. If we tap onto the area here, and we can look at this in 3D if we need to. We can look at the actual buildings and then see what type of solar potential they have within those buildings. So here it immediately tells you all the characteristics and the data that relates to that, including any trends that we need to monitor. So here we're looking at obviously the solar potential for that particular zip code. And then if we drill it down to the actual building level, then we can look at, for example, what's happening within a particular building. In this case, we chose the Amazon building that falls within that. We can just tapping on the screen, look at its solar, a number of hours of usable sunlight per year, how many square feet available for solar panels. And this is data that's provided by Google already. So what we're trying to do is take APIs from different types of data, and now we can, merge vast amounts of data, integrate them together, and start to bring intelligence. And then if we then tie that to real-time information, now we have a much more powerful insight as to what's happening. We can look at the efficiency of the building. We can look at, what's happening from an environment point of view. Obviously, if we focus on buildings and transportation and solar potential, then those are three or four of the biggest areas that can have a massive impact on our initiatives if we were to become a net zero state by 2030 or 2040. And all the different countries and states have now pledged goals towards that. And now these types of platforms allow them to be able to track in real time what's going on, because they've become an operational tool as opposed to looking at individual websites. So that's pretty much it. I guess I'll open it up to questions, since we lost quite a bit of time trying to figure out the screen sharing, but I apologize for that. But I will leave it open to questions. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, Aria.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have a question about our product. Is that can you specify what our target clients, like the other question, like before, is the government or is to everyone unique users?
It's predominantly an enterprise platform. So by that we mean it will be corporations and municipalities and cities and maybe asset managers, real estate owners, you know, that own these buildings, utility companies that own a lot of the grids, they could benefit with this data. Solar panel companies, you know, companies that are launching a lot of solar initiatives. Companies that are creating electric vehicles. You know, as you saw in our platform, we can track electric vehicles and EV charging stations. So there are a number of, you know, B2B applications for this type of platform. The consumer version of this can sit inside the city hall where consumers can come in and maneuver on a wide screen, you know, big, large screen to see what's going on, what kind of initiatives they have within their city. And they could use this kind of platform to have a better insight as to what our city is doing towards that. So the benefit to the consumer is purely informational. The benefits could be that developers, when they decide to build something in an area, they can go to the city, they can look at what the city already has plans for with this cartography layer. So there are a number of different applications at an enterprise level.
I see. Thank you. And we have another question from Lawrence. He or she asked that, is the Google API you're referenced for looking for solar panels publicly available?
I believe it is. I believe it's an open source platform that Google, you know, Google's intentions are good in this, that they want to try and promote, you know, the big, I would say the big 4 or 5 companies right now that are putting everything into this initiative is companies like Amazon, companies like Google, Apple, Tesla. Companies like that are very serious about, you know, going towards net zero, and then the technology that's, you know, the driver for them to promote that technology. So by, you know, Google definitely is offering an API. We haven't brought the API in yet because this is the prototype we built. Literally, we self-funded this and we built this prototype. And now we're talking to, you know, different stakeholders to see what uses, because each person, each city may have a slightly different need to, you know, so we could build this platform. It's a custom platform, but we could build it for the stakeholders according to their needs. But, you know, definitely most of the data that we've already looked at is open source data.
Okay, this is Jason. So do you have any, you know, currently we are under a very special situation. So for this system, do you have any use case for the COVID-19 or, you know, for the public healthcare?
Okay, actually, although the platform has a number of uses for COVID-19, particularly because anytime you're using real world representation and tracking and cartography layers and navigation and tracking, you know, movement of people, then these kind of platforms and the technology is what's needed to do that. Unfortunately, what we found was back in March, when we were in the middle of the energy summit, a number of companies at that time were already thinking about COVID and the impact, and they reached out to us and said, look, there's a lot of, there's a lot of tracking that you guys can do. There's a lot of, wearables that can be attached to this. We just found it very time consuming to respond to the real decision makers, because unfortunately everybody could see that the use of it, but then we found a lot of I guess bureaucracy and restrictions around privacy laws and all kinds of things and concerns. So we didn't really want, as a startup, we didn't really want to get caught in promises of doing this and doing that. And also we found very quickly, since we were part of a very global accelerator, we were aware that just within our accelerator worldwide, there were over 1,000 companies that suddenly started producing COVID-related initiatives and technology. So I guess the short answer is yes, it would be a great tool, but since the check writers didn't come immediately to us and said, here's a great use case for your project, we didn't want to spend too much time on it. But yes, it would be, it would actually address some of the COVID-related issues.
Okay, so can you, a lot of attendees today, they are, they are either graduate students, or young professionals, and we do have about 30% of our members, they are senior level. So can you tell us a little bit about when I know you guys are a startup company, when you do the development, what is the top 2 or top 3 challenge to build such a complicated system involving
Right.
different technology?
And that's a great question, and I'm glad, because I obviously I know the work that you guys do, and it's really important that we offer some proper feedback to that. Now, the one thing I can obviously share with you, the way the technology stack, this is built on Python. Python is very important, as you know, for data science work. So anybody that is doing any kind of work with Python and then combining that with cartography and 3D animation or 3D visualization, those technologies are absolutely at the top of the list of some of the biggest corporations. And also anything that's related to, first and foremost, and this is something that's very much pandemic related, and that is that we believe that we are going to see a paradigm shift in some of the biggest corporations that previously focused on oil and gas, and all the governments that focused on oil and gas and provided subsidies to oil and gas companies. We believe this is the time to break the back of dependence on oil. And the players, the biggest companies and biggest organizations that have been doing this for the last 4 and 5 years now have the opportunity to really make a big difference. So as far as the type of technology that any student should be interested in, it has to be energy related. And the main energy that everybody's focused on is not the, I can tell you, number 1 is solar. Number 2 is electric vehicles. Number 3 is the ancillaries that support electric vehicles and solar, and that is batteries that store power, that technology. And then number 4 is transportation, and then within that is buildings. Buildings are everywhere, and buildings, you don't have to import that work to anywhere else. So every country has that problem, so you can retain jobs within that country to support building retrofits. So the technology that is supporting those initiatives is where I would tell anybody right now, from an engineering point of view, from studying, whether it's studying what SpaceX is doing, studying what Amazon are doing or Google are doing, those are the areas that I'll absolutely focus on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely, And also, I see from one of our attendees, give us a link. It's google.com/get/sunroof. That's
And
is
that's the actual solar project. That is the one. So that's Google that's already been mapping this for several years. And that's the data that you can download or you can have APIs from Google.
okay.
Okay, if it's not, I will share with you the link if it's not the right one. But there is an official site. It's very useful, which I showed to you on the platform itself. But it's very useful to get an instant idea of, a community, a zip code, a building, even a household. I can, type in an address for a household. It will tell me exactly which angle the sun comes in, where the shade is, where the sunlight is, and how much potential it has. And then that kind of information becomes useful for, solar panel installers and individuals to say, we should be installing solar panels on our roofs.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'm not sure if we touch this question or not. I see there's a question came from Gazella. The question is, can you share more on the practical applications of digital twin technology?
Sure. So think of digital twins in the way that, you can now add digital data to almost anything, right? So you have, for example, is my screen still being shared with you?
Let me see. No, actually, the control room already, they are working on speaker.
No, don't worry. So I'll explain. So imagine a facility like an airport. So within an airport, we were able to create a digital twin of the entire airport infrastructure, taxi, parking, runway, the buildings inside out, and all the assets and resources and the flights coming in and out. So for example, all the flights that once they're on a particular parking station, then a digital twin of that would appear. So operators can see not only visuals from a video overview what's going on, but they can have digital access to the entire area. And what that means then is that now they can interact with actual, either to locate resources. Resources could be, for example, baggage handling, transportation. They can see digitally where the transport is located, where the weighing scales are, where the power units are. And then just by tapping on the screen where it's digitally represented, they can also see whether the unit is power ready to be utilized, or whether it needs, maintenance, or whether, they can have all kinds of alarms and sensors built into that. So this is the big advantage of a digital twin. And also you can use digital twins in simulation exercises. The example would be if you wanted to look at a building and place inside that building an aircraft or some other goods, you could digitally look at that because you would have a real world dimensions, and then you could take a model. The model would have real dimensions, and then you could move that model into the building and rotate it in a 3D environment so that you can actually see how that would work.
Okay, it's a good example. So thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I know currently a lot of startup companies they use AI and the data analytics technology in their application. I know you show only a prototype today. So I would like to, maybe you can share some ideas how the data analytics technology can use in such kind of scenarios?
No, absolutely. And I think that's a really important aspect of where we are headed, and where companies are already intelligently starting to use AI and advanced data analytics. So, AI is still, even though it's been around for several years, it is still relatively new as an application to enhance something. So I think it's really important to make sure that we're not using AI just because AI is now available. We're using it because it makes sense and it's giving us intelligence that we couldn't get any other way, or the traditional methods. So that's the first point of use of AI within technology. So we're building anything for the platform. Just because AI is accessible, it doesn't mean it's the most effective tool. But when it is, and that's when it should be used. And also, as far as analytics are concerned, there's a lot of factors go into the, if you like, the tools that enhance data. So that could be, big data, data science, all kinds of, algorithms, all kinds of correlation, different types of intelligence that you could add to that, statistical processes that you could add to that, other data sets that give you some additional pieces of information. So I think AI is just one of the tools that we would highly encourage that is looked at, but just keep in mind, ask yourself the question that, because it's also a very expensive tool to use, particularly as if you're building out something and you're using Amazon Web Services and you're using, or IBM Cloud, then you're utilizing their AI, if you like, technology, and it's chargeable. So as a startup, you have to be careful that you're not adding a very expensive layer. You have to really look at the benefits of that layer to make sure that it's cost effective to do that.
Yeah, thank you for the comment.
Okay,
And,
thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we still have one question from our audience. Ethan, he or she asked that, how about the digital twins for flagship stores for leading brands? Will probably help kill the itch for shopping?
Mm-hmm. We actually started working on a use case within Europe, and with the various things we've already working on, retail is one of the sectors, and I think, how much time do we have left? Do we have time?
We have like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Is it possible if I could share the screen?
12 minutes or more, okay. Yeah.
Is it possible if I could share my screen with you, and that will answer that question a little bit more?
Okay.
Okay, let's do that. Share. All right. Can you see my our theater again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still
so let me just close this out, and I will share with you. Okay, 3D models. Here we go. So here, I'm going to share a 3D model, which is something we've been working on, particularly for the retail sector. Okay, so here's a 3D model for retail. Let me know if you can see it. Now I'm maneuvering that around inside a retail store, okay? Let me just straighten that back out again. And then as I tap into it now, I've separated all the layers that are within that store itself. And now if I tap on the collection within that, now I could tap into the actual collection and look at, more data for that particular, if it's a dress or whatever it is. Obviously, this is just for a particular client. We're experimenting something for a retail sector, but it shows you the potential of 3D digital twin animation and how you can move that technology and visualize everything within, whether it's retail stores or parks or any one of those things by just tapping on the screen and then going to that particular, asset, whatever it might be. Unfortunately, it's very resource intensive right now, and I have too many things open, so it might take a little bit of time to do that. But you can see now, even this dress that I tapped on there, the user can now maneuver around the screen and move around this dress by just tapping on the screen itself. So this is an application that can be used in a number of ways, whether it's retail store or whether it's something like vehicles. I'll show you another example. Here we're looking at a 3D model of the vehicle, and again, I can maneuver around this vehicle in 3D. And if I tap on, the different layers, now I separate those layers, and I can now see, what each layer is and any information, and I can maneuver around the brakes and the parts and anything else that I need to see. So the potential is huge for digital twin technology. So this is advanced gaming graphics. So if you look at gaming visualization, it's probably way superior than anything else that most industry has, right? But it's meant for gaming, and that's all people use it for, right? What we're doing is, since we have the expertise within our team of gaming visualization and operational ability, we're trying to use real use cases where instead of just sitting on a computer playing games, industry can now use that level of visualization and interact with it from an operational sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, it's really fancy, advanced 3D model.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. So I thank you for sharing. And I think we are running out of time for this section. And thank you, Rayaan, for the speech.
It's my pleasure. Thank you once again for inviting me to speak. And let me just leave you with our. Actually, would you share my contact information? I'll share them on the chat here. If anybody has any question, please always reach out to me. It's my first name, Rayaan, at Konectcity.com.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, you can share the contact information now. I know you're in person.
Okay, I can do that right now. I'll put it in there.
Okay, can you share? We only have, we still have, 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect. I will put my email here and particularly, we spend, as you know, Jason, I spend a lot of time personally with universities in any way that we can help them, offer our time to talk to students, whatever they're working on. So we're always available for that. So please reach out, have any of them reach out to us, reach out to me. If they have any questions, or even if they want me to come into a classroom setting, any of the professors for sharing some of this, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your offering. Okay, it's very helpful, and we have our best wishes for your startup company.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much, as always.
I will go to. Can you share your contact information so I can,
I just put it in the chat area just now.
Okay.
Do you see it?
Yeah, I see. Yeah. The email is in the chat.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I will definitely pass that to the attendees.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you for all the people that were listening, and thank you for the great questions.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks. Bye.